want to tell you about a girl I started dating a few years ago and the hot and cold signs she started showing. And it was weird because in the beginning, she was really into me. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing some flags. And here I'm going to share some of the things I learned that God was trying to reveal in her heart and what to watch out for when dating someone in the future. Now, with this girl, what happened was we were out at a country dancing place. I was pretty good at country dancing and she hadn't really done it yet. But one of her mutual friends knew me and introduced the two of us, telling me to basically teach her how to dance and to get her acclimated. So I said hi, we started dancing, and from the get-go, it seemed like she was a nice girl, great personality. We really hit it off, and ultimately we were supposed to have a first date. Now, a week goes by, and for that first date, the day before, I get really sick with a sinus infection. Now, I'm the kind of guy where I didn't want to disappoint anyone, so I've never really canceled dates. And I always really try to avoid doing that, even if I didn't want to go on it, because I was afraid to scare the person off or give an impression that I'm not really into them. And so here I go, canceling the date, feeling really bad about it, giving a good reason, and trying to be positive and give it a nice reason to basically say, you know what, I'm not feeling great, but let's go ahead and reschedule. She was nice about it, very understanding. We went ahead and rescheduled, and a week before, or I should say a week after, we ended up having our first date. It went really well, and she was asking quality questions, things I recommend you all do when you're vetting someone, because it's not just about attraction, right? You want to make sure your values align, and so she was asking some critical questions about basically trying to see if I would be boyfriend material and what I'm looking for in a partner. And we had an age difference where she was a lot younger than me. I think she was 27. But I was impressed, and I actually liked that it seemed as if she had standards for herself. But soon that was all going to change, because even though we had a really good date, and the date afterwards, she still showed high interest and she wanted to see me again fairly quickly. I believe it was the third date where we decided to go out country dancing. And when we got to the venue and we were about to dance, all of a sudden she saw a group of friends and basically had her back turned to me, was catching up with them. A minute goes by, 2 minutes go by, 3 minutes go by. I'm not introduced or brought into the conversation. So here I'm starting to see a flag and I'm like, wait a minute, you seemed really into me. And all of a sudden you're giving me this cold shoulder. So I decided I'm just gonna go and dance. Hey, this is not my girlfriend. We've only been on 2 dates. And if this is how I'm going to be treated, I'm the kind of guy now where I have strong convictions and values. I'm not going to just wait hand and foot on someone. If I'm giving the cold shoulder, that gives me a pause to step back. And that's one thing I want to recommend to all of you when someone's treating you hot and cold is if you take a step back, do they suddenly value you? And what does that mean? And what God could be showing you is that you're basically convenient, or you're providing them some benefit where if they're worried that you're going to basically pull that away, all of a sudden they realize the value of what they might lose. And that's a flag in itself. Well, here I was dancing and just doing my own thing. And she eventually came over, but I think a good 45 minutes went by and she treated it as if nothing happened. I didn't realize it in the moment, but this was basically a situationship where even though on the first date, she was signaling to me that, hey, I'm a person looking for quality dating, it turned out not being the story with her. Because sometimes with hot and cold behavior, another thing God can be revealing to you is to test someone's spirit, like in 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. They might say all the right things to try and lock you down, but sometimes they want to make sure that you are reserved as their option, but their actions are showing that you're just simply a backup. And that's what was happening here. Because even though she was trying to gas up my ego and saying all these nice compliments and making me feel like I want to essentially look at her as somebody that's a quality dater, her actions were showing that when we're out and about, I'm basically an afterthought, because we even went out another time to dance. And yes, during that time, her attention was on me and she treated it as if we are on a date. But then the following time after that, 2 weeks later, once again, her sister came and she introduced me to her sister. And it was another example of a day where even now, after weeks had passed, it seemed like I was getting even more of the cold shoulder where if we're dancing, don't dance too close, or don't convey to anybody basically that we are seeing each other. And so my guard was up, her guard was up, and sometimes when we're seeing hot and cold behavior, what God can be revealing to us too is you might be attracting that same behavior back because somewhere inside of our soul, maybe we have doubts and we have a cold shoulder and we're worried about whether God is truly going to bless us with someone. And that's honestly how I felt too. And part of the reason why I think I settled on this girl and why I attracted the same kind of energy I was putting out there, because I had gone through some messy breakups, but I was also finally starting to enjoy being single. So naturally, I was 1 foot in 1 foot out, right? And I got the same thing in return. And God will sometimes allow us to see that to teach us a lesson. Well, our last date was very interesting because that's where I finally had the courage to pull the plug. Here she had gone from wanting to see me often early on to now it would go 3 or 4 weeks at a time where she was actually starting to travel with her sister and go around the country, which is great. A little bit of pathfinding and trying to soul search, but given here I thought things were progressing, it was just weird to me that our time being spent together was less and less. Even though when we were together in person, all of our dates were really good, and she was exhibiting a lot of strong interest signals. And so this was some hot, cold, mixed signal behavior that left me scratching my head. Well, finally on our last date, we hadn't seen each other in 4 or 5 weeks, I think. And the date right before she traveled, the date prior, she had once again showed hot behavior where she was really into me, making it seem like she's going to miss me while she's gone. Well, on this last date, we go and have sushi, right? And she's telling me about her recent travel to Vegas with her sister and a bunch of friends in a mixed group. And all of a sudden, the story starts unraveling about her and a guy friend in the group, and also her trying to convince her sister to break up with a boyfriend. And the story was just sounding really weird. I started asking probing questions, and I was nice about it, but in my mind, I'm thinking, I know what I'm looking for. Before I step forward and take things to another level with this woman, I want to make sure I understand what I'm getting into. And when I started asking those questions, and it started revealing some bad habits she had, I could see that she was tensing up a little bit. And then she excused herself to the bathroom, came back a few minutes later, where suddenly she got a phone call, which I didn't hear anything go off, and she looks at her phone, picks it up. Apparently it's her roommate, which I don't think was actually what truly happened, where she's talking and she's smiling. She's like, "What are you doing?" "Yeah, I'll be there in a few minutes." And here we are on a date. And suddenly this phone call signals to me that either she's looking for a way out and I'm just for convenience, and when things start to feel real, that this is not for her, she's just here for entertainment, or it's possible that it could have been that guy or another guy. I mean, I don't know. But what I did know in that situation is God was revealing to me that He is faithful, He is consistent, and when He has someone planned for us, we're not going to have to go through all of these hoops trying to decipher every move. And you remember, the devil is the author of confusion. Confusion doesn't come from the Lord. So I finally pulled the plug and I said, you know what? This isn't working for me. I feel like I took time out of the day to take you out for sushi, and I really value and respect who I am, and I'm getting some mixed signals from you, and let's go ahead and just call the date early and go our separate ways. And when I took a step back, she started backtracking, saying, "Oh no, it's not a big deal. I can tell her, I can wait till later. We can still hang out." And here I'm thinking, I feel like I'm just being used. So I didn't accept that offer, and I still said, let's just go our own ways, and this is what I'm looking for in a person. And sure, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but you have to also be willing to have those tougher conversations and have conviction, because sometimes we're taught to not get serious too soon. And yeah, you don't want to go on a first date word vomiting your whole life story, but you still want to make sure that if you're looking at godly dating, that you're vetting the person and having those tougher questions early on so you're not wasting each other's time. Well, what eventually happened is she apologized. The next day she sent an apology text. I still went my own separate way. And God will then sometimes test you, right? Because what happened was 3 months later, I ran into her at a different dancing venue. And I went ahead and said hi to her. It was kind of awkward for me, but I just wanted to, make sure that there wasn't any bad blood or anything. And there wasn't. Just catching up. She was telling me about how work is going, and she bought a house recently. So we're just having a nice, cordial conversation. And even when we were there, I could tell she was trying to get my attention. And when she was like talking to this other guy, trying to look over and see how I'd react, and I was just stoic. I'm just like, I'm here to dance, no big deal. I let you go. You're free to dance with whoever. And I didn't tell her that, but that's what I was thinking. And then that night, I got a text from her saying it was so good to see you again. And I knew in my head what that was. That was looking for opportunity to try and spend time together. And I just said, you know what? It was good seeing you too. All the best to you. And what ended up happening is, by not wasting my time with this hot and cold cycle, that invited the Lord to say basically, Lord, I'm giving this dating space to you. Even though there was opportunity here, I'm not taking it. And then he blessed me with my wife a year later. And so the moral of the story here, guys, and the ladies out here watching too, is when someone's showing you hot and cold behavior, yeah, they could have cold feet in the beginning and they could be God sent, but generally speaking, it is a flag. Just remember who God says you are and the promise he provides, like in Jeremiah 29:11. Because honestly, when you're with a godly person and they are God sent, it's easy, even when the world makes it sound like dating is meant to be chaotic. So I hope this was encouraging for you. For you men out there, if you want to learn how to become a godly man that can lead your house and prepare you to meet your future spouse, check out the Husband Protocol Guide in the description below. I did talk about this in the live video that just went live last Friday. Thank you all for showing up. It was really good discussions. And if you need to talk with me one-on-one, check the description below as well. You can book a 20-minute session, and God bless.